Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be nuking my opponents in the Open Master League with the charge move that many people do not even know is in the game, Giga Impact. Now, Giga Impact is a very powerful normal type charge move. It's actually a clone of the move Solar Beam, so it costs a lot of energy but deals massive damage. Only two Pokemon in the game know Giga Impact, Xerneas and Regigigas, so I may as well run them both. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the double Giga Impact squad in action in the Master League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a dominant lead, Yveltal into Mewtwo. Opponent will look to immediately save switch out of here into Dialga, and I'm going to stay in, farm up to the Focus Blast, and bait with the Dark Pulse. But my opponent is going to strike first, going for the Iron Head. They're just looking to get chip damage onto Yveltal. I'm going to bait here with the Dark Pulse, and then I'm going to look to switch out of this matchup. Dark Pulse bait does get the shield. I'm now going to send in Ground Hidden Power, Regigigas. Regigigas looking for the farm down here, but Hidden Power is a pretty terrible fast move. Iron Head will be shielded. Regigigas continuing to farm, looking for the farm down. Dialga makes the last second charge move, and I will be forced to expend both of my shields. That's a bit unfortunate, but the good news is I have a Giga Impact loaded and ready to go. My opponent is going to send in Zekrom, and it's Giga Impact time. Do they respect it? Yes, they do. Opponent shields up the Zekrom, and that is not good news for me. I'm going to send in the Xerneas. Xerneas will be hit with the charge move from the Zekrom, either Fusion Bolt or Wild Charge. It's the Fusion Bolt. In comes the Mewtwo. Yveltal able to outpace and make it to the Dark Pulse, and this is big. Dark Pulse gets the Mewtwo low. Mewtwo looking to overfarm as much as possible. They do not have the back-to-back here, and that's extremely important because I'm going to be able to get the tackle farm down with Xerneas. It's going to be a race. Zekrom versus Xerneas. Do we make the Giga Impact? Yes, we do. Xerneas makes the Giga Impact, KOs the Zekrom, and that's a good game. The great leads continue in the next match, Yveltal into Groudon, and the Groudon is staying in this matchup, which clues me into the fact that they've got to be extremely weak to Yveltal in the back. Yveltal not super commonly run at the moment, so it does stand to reason that some opponents may not necessarily be game planning for it. Dark Pulse looks like it will be enough to two-shot. My opponent is spamming out Fire Punch after Fire Punch, just trying to get as much chip damage as possible onto Yveltal. I'm going for the Dark Pulse here. I just want to get rid of the Groudon because my backline really does not want to see it. My opponent does end up getting new mechanic there as the Fire Punch will register before the Snarl gets the knockout. In comes Dialga. I'm able to make it to the Dark Pulse. Now Dark Pulse, not going to KO of course, but will get some solid chip damage. And now I decide to send in Xerneas. Xerneas will be able to tank an Iron Head here, so I don't have to shield and I can save shields for Regigigas in the back. Iron Head is going to connect. I'm farming up with the Xerneas, making sure they can't catch by over-farming and then firing off the close combat. Close combat will be shielded. I'm continuing to farm. I will make another close combat, so my opponent is forced to throw their energy. Iron Head is going to KO. In comes Regigigas in the back. They have Giratina Origin, and this is exactly what Regigigas needed to see. I'm going to be double resisting the Ominous Wind and the Shadow Ball here. They go for the Ominous Wind, hoping for the boost. Giga Impact is double resisted, but it does actually do more raw damage than a Thunderbolt, so I may as well go for the Giga Impact here. Giga Impact, double resisted onto the Giratina, still does quite a lot of damage. Giratina firing off charge move after charge move. They are desperately trying to get this Regigigas into a range where the Dialga will be able to get rid of it. But I'm not going to let that happen. I go for the Thunder. That's going to get the shield. And Regigigas should be able to shield, Hidden Power farm down, and secure the win. Ominous Wind does not get the boost for my opponent, and they concede the match. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Yveltal into Dialga. I do have Focus Blast, which is quite nice, so I can typically grab shield advantage out of this matchup. Yveltal is able to outpace and make it to the Focus Blast before they make the Draco Meteor. I bait with the Dark Pulse, and I'm able to grab a shield from my opponent. Here, I'm actually not going to build up to the next Focus Blast because I want chip damage. I'm actually going for the second Dark Pulse here because I just want to get as much chip damage as possible onto the Dialga, and I'm just going to let Yveltal go. My goal is I need to try and get shields down and get chip damage, so So that way, I can set up my backline with a shield advantage. My opponent is going to pivot into Landorus. Landorus, definitely not what I was hoping to see. I'm going to respect the first superpower, and my opponent ends up going for the Stone Edge. And now this will be the superpower. Superpower is going to rock the Regigigas, but I'm making it to the Giga Impact. Do they respect the damage? They do not. Get that Landorus out of here. In comes Dialga. I would have gotten farmed down, so I'm forced to send in the Xerneas. Xerneas is going to commit the shield, and this is going to be tough. I need Xerneas to do well versus what they have in the back, and they have a Ho-Oh 1 win con. They already know shielded 1 Giga Impact. Will they let the second through? They do not. Opponent learned their lesson. They respect the Giga Impact, and that's going to be game over as Sacred Fire just does way too much damage to the Xerneas, and I concede the match. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Yveltal into Groudon. My opponent this time is going to save switch out of there, and they send in Dialga. I'm farming up to the Focus Blast. Again, Yveltal able to outpace in the zeros, but I'm again going to bait with the Dark Pulse. I'm able to get a shield, and now I send in Xerneas. Xerneas will be able to tank an Iron Head, and then I can fire off a close combat. They are at the back-to-back here, however, so I'm going to tank 1, shield 1, and look to massively overfarm with the Xerneas. So they go for the Iron Head, I commit the shield. I'm massively overfarming with the Xerneas. I make it to the back-to-back close combats, and I'm going for close combat number 1 here. Close combat gets the shield. Going for close combat number 2, but a very nice catch by my opponent, catching the close combat back onto the Groudon. Groudon looking for the farm down. I'm able to switch out at the last possible second and send back in Yveltal and save the Xerneas in case I need a catch later on. Fire Punch will get Yveltal low, and here I actually throw on alignment. I was expecting the Dark Pulse to KO, but as you see, it barely does not, so I just end up giving them a little bit of extra damage for free. My opponent has a Zacian in the back, and this is going to be tricky. I'm firing off the Dark Pulse. I just need whatever chip damage I can get into the Zacian here. Looks like Zacian is going for the farm down. That allows me to make it to the Focus Blast here. Focus Blast definitely going to hurt as the Zacian is now in the red. Zacian has so much energy. I know that I do tank a close combat on the Regigigas, but first we're going to make a catch onto the Xerneas. Opponent went for the play rough there, so either they are not running close combat or they were baiting. Let's find out. I know that I tanked this. I'm going to let it go. They're not running close combat. In comes Dialga. Dialga firing off a charge move. I will use my final shield on the Regigigas as they go for the Iron Head. Regigigas makes the Thunder. I don't have time to build up to the Giga Impact. Thunder gets the KO. In comes the Zacian. They do not have a charge move, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Yveltal into Dialga. At this point, I'm feeling extremely comfortable with this matchup as I see it game after game after game. Again, I was really liking to bait with Dark Pulse with this team after I build up to the Focus Blast, because considering what I'm running in the back, I really need to generate some kind of advantage. And then I'm just going to go straight for the Dark Pulse, just looking to get chip damage onto the Dialga and potentially putting it into hidden power farm down range for the Regigigas. They go for the Iron Head, that's going to KO. In comes Regigigas, looking for the farm down. Dialga makes the charge move, and I'm going to be shielding here. My opponent full sends the Draco Meteor. They give up switch. They send in Kyogre. I make it to the Thunder on the CMP tie to the Surf here. Is this going to be enough to one-shot Thunder? Massive damage. They're able to hang on with a sliver of HP remaining. They fire off the Surf. That's going to get me low. I send in Xerneas. Xerneas gets the tackle farm down in the back. It's a Dragon Tail Groudon, and unfortunately the game is lagging so much here, stuttering like crazy. I go for the Giga Impact, and I end up throwing on alignment due to the stutters. Opponent shields the Giga Impact, and now I have to call a bait to win. I'm gonna no shield. It's the Precipice Blades, and I concede the match. We see a great lead in the next match, Yveltal into Giratina Origin. I have two really good counters for Giratina on this team, and my opponent is staying in this matchup. They must be so core broken by Yveltal in the back. They're going for the Shadow Ball. That is just not going to cut it, and I'm firing off the Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse does not one-shot, but it does massive damage onto the Giratina, and now I'm just going to look to fully commit to the Snarl Down. I can tank the Shadow Ball here, Snarl Down, and leave with 100 energy to threaten whatever my opponent has in the back. So I am going to get the full Snarl Down here, leaving with 100 energy. My opponent sends in Zacian, and I'm going to pivot into Xerneas. My opponent now sends in Groudon. Groudon will be able to make it to the Precipice Blades, and this is going to do a lot of damage, so I will commit the shield. And now you already know what time it is. I'm going for the Giga Impact here into the Groudon. Goodbye, Groudon. Back in comes the Zacian. Zacian is running Snarl, so they have absolutely no fast move pressure here. They go for the Play Rough. That's not going to cut it. Xerneas, at this point, I just need chip damage, so I'm going to go for the resisted close combat. My opponent recognizes that they are shielding the close combat, and now I'm going to aggressively switch into the Regigigas. If they have close combat, I want them to debuff themselves. My opponent not going to let that happen. They go for the Play Rough, but the hidden powers are beginning to chip away at their HP. They're firing off another charge move. It is going to be the Play Rough. They get the farm down just before I make the Thunder, but with the amount of energy that I have on my Yveltal, I should be in a good spot. Dark Pulse is going to be shielded. I'm going for Dark Pulse number 2. The energy we saved at the beginning coming in clutch. Dark Pulse is going to get the KO as Yveltal gets the win. We see a tricky lead in the next match, Yveltal into Melmetal. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start, hopefully grab an early shield advantage, and then I can switch out of this matchup. They're going to fire off a Rock Slide on perfect timing. I'm going to no shield, build up to the Focus Blast, and do what I've done every battle with this team so far against the Steel type, bait with the Dark Pulse. I get the shield advantage, I save some energy on Yveltal for later, and now I can send in Xerneas. They're firing off a charge move. I'm going to let this through. Opponent goes for the Rock Slide, and now, after farming up some more energy, they send in Zacian, and you already know it is Giga Impact time. Giga Impact, massive damage onto the Zacian. Zacian already in the red health. Zacian has farmed up quite a lot of energy. I'm going to commit a shield to the Xerneas here. I'm going to shield, get the farm down, and leave with energy to threaten the Melmetal. Opponent sends in the Melmetal, and I'm going for the close combat here. Close combat would rock the Melmetal, so we see the final shield being used. My opponent is going to be firing off a charge move. It's the Rock Slide. That gets me low. I'm going to save the Xerneas for later, as I do have some energy on it, and bring in the Regigigas. I commit the shield. It's the superpower in the back. It's Yveltal. I'm not going to make the Giga Impact, so I'm going to go for the super effective Thunder on the CMP tie here. Thunder will hit for massive damage, but Yveltal able to hang on. The hidden power grounds were double resisted. Focus Blast will KO. I decide to go for a risky play. I'm going to try and tackle farm down. I'm close to a move on the Xerneas. It's going to be close. Xerneas cannot get the farm down, and that's going to cost me the game. If I got the farm down and left with the close combat, I could win, but we simul KO, and the Melmetal KOs my Yveltal. Hopping into the final match, and we've got a very interesting pick from my opponent as I lead Yveltal into a Dragon Tail Garchomp. Garchomp is seen quite a bit in the Master Premier Cup, but very rarely in the Open Leagues. I'm going to farm up here, fire off the Dark Balls. My opponent is going to no shield. They have enough for the Outrage, but I'm going to call it. A lot of Dragon Tail users love going for the Sand Tomb, and this opponent is no exception. And now I can win Switch or grab an early shield advantage here. Dark Pulse will be shielded. I'm going to make it to another Dark Pulse, so my opponent is forced to go for Sand Tomb number 2 just to get rid of Yveltal. That's fine by me. I have shield advantage, and now I'm going to send in Xerneas. Suddenly, I'm a bit worried that they might be running double ground charge moves with Earth Power. I still no shield, and it is the Earth Power. That's not the best. And to add insult to injury, they make a Sand Tomb as well. So I'm going to leave this matchup extremely low on health. Alright, let's see. What do they have in the back? They send in a Melmetal. They are so weak to Xerneas in the back. I have the double close combats. That's going to get him low. And this one is going to be KOing unless they expend the final shield. Opponent sacrifices the Melmetal. In the back, it's an Excadrill. And Hidden Power Ground is here to shut it all down. This is going to be close. It takes a lot of hidden powers to get to a Giga Impact, but since this is a Giga Impact video, if I'm able to get one before I get the farm down, I'm going for it. Drill Run will be shielded. Come on, Regigigas. Regigigas makes it to the Giga Impact. Let's go. Opponent shields it, but it's not going to matter. The hidden power ground sneaks through on the Drill Run. We commit the shield, and Regigigas gets the win. All in all, I had a lot of fun getting to land Giga Impact. This is definitely not a team that I would recommend for climbing. Giga Impact is a very expensive charge move costing 80 energy, and the two mons that have it use Tackle and Hidden Power, so it's an extremely slow charge move to get to on these two particular Pokemon, so definitely not a charge move that I would recommend if you're looking to climb ranks, but overall, it is really rewarding to finally land a Giga Impact after farming up all that energy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.